that he was able to eradicate the Jews out of Medina, taking all three Jewish tribes, throwing them out, or cutting off their heads, basically enslaving their women and taking their children as slaves. Folks, that's the example of Muhammad. That's not an example today. Come back to Jesus!
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Go on, just start.
الصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه الغر الميامين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this debate. It's a very interesting debate. We are here to find out which way of life is more violent, which way of life is more peaceful, whether Christianity or Islam. I will begin with the Islamic text on this particular issue. But before I begin with Islamic text, I would like to quote some of the Christian testimonies from the history. Some of the Christian testimonies. These extremist Christians from America, these fundamentalists, born again, evangelical Christians, they like to claim that we are barbaric, vicious, and uncivilized people. We will look into history. When I talk about Christianity, I do not talk about the Christianity of 21st century. I do not talk about the Christianity of Ayasur. I talk about the Christianity of Catholic monks. I talk about the Christianity of Greek Orthodox Church. I talk about the Christianity of 19th century. And I talk about the Christianity of 21st century. You will know why. Islamic text. Some of the Christian testimonies. Why do I quote Christian testimonies? What they have to say about Islamic rule? Because if I quote Muslims, you will say, oh, it's obvious Muslims will be biased towards their own religion. So let's see what the Christians have to say about Islam and Muslims. And these are the testimonies which I have to come out with.
And the Armenians. We got a debate going on here.
But otherwise, a pilgrim monk visited Egypt and Palestine in 9th century. A Christian monk visited Palestine in 9th century. He stated that the Christians and the pagans, they used to say that Muslims are pagans. The Christians and the pagans, yeah, you know, you're the one who worship three gods, not us. We only worship one God. Is that right? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Have this kind of peace between them. There is that if I was going on a journey and on the way the camel or donkey which bore my poor luggage were to die, and I was to abandon all my goods without any guardian and go to the city for another pack animal, when I came back I would find all my property uninjured. Such is the peace day. In 869 CE, Patriarch Theodosius of Jerusalem wrote, the Saracens, i.e. the Muslims, the Saracens show us great goodwill. They allow us to build our churches and to observe our own customs without hindrance. Michael the Elder, a Jacobite Christian patriarch of Antioch in 12th century, this is what he had to say. But when the city submitted to the Arabs, they assigned to each denomination the churches which they found it to be possession of. Nevertheless, it was no slight advantage for us to be delivered from the cruelty of the Christian Roman Byzantines. This is a Christian Jacobite who is writing in the 12th century about Christians persecuting them and Muslims liberating them. He said, the wickedness of the Byzantines, their wrath and their cruel zeal against us, and to find ourselves at peace when the Arabs came. Now this is a Christian. And finally, in the 7th century, when Muslims were taking land, the Nestorian Patriarch of Khurasan, Ishobed III, addressed a letter to Simeon, the Primate of Persia. In this letter he stated, and the Arabs, to whom God at this time has given the empire of the world, behold, they are among you, as you know well, and they attack not the Christian faith, but on the contrary, they favor our religion, do honor to our priests and the saints of the Lord, and confer benefits on the churches and monasteries. These are the Christian testimonies. Why do the Muslims behave in this way towards Christians? Why? We have to go to the treaties. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go to the precedent set by Prophet Muhammad and his companions for the coming generations. Why were Muslims so tolerant to the Christian and Jewish subjects? And why were the Christians so intolerant towards the Jews and the Muslims? We will come to know in my next turn, and I'll see what Jay Smith has to say about these testimonies. Does he reject these testimonies? If these testimonies are found to be in history and the pages of Christian chronicles, what does he say about these testimonies? Are they liars? I'm over. I'm over.
All right.
Are there any homosexuals in Iran? Are there any homosexuals in Iran?
Okay, folks, have you noticed? What did I say he would say? Did I not tell you?
That's right.
That he will use a lot of examples from the history of Christianity. And he did he not? He walked right into the trap.
Good example.
I opened it and he walked right in. Can you see what he has done? He has proved my point. Who is Monk the Ninth of the 9th century? Who is the Patriarch of 690?
Go and find out.
Who is Mike the Elder of the 12th century? Who is the Nestorian Patriarch of the 7th century? Do any of you follow them?
No.
Do any of you believe that they represent God? No. Do any of you believe they represent Jesus Christ?
No.
As Christians, who do we go to?
The Lord.
We go to Jesus. He just walked right into my trap. Folks, be careful. Of course, there have been people who claim to be Christians, who have done terrible things. Even today, there are Christians who claim to follow Jesus Christ. But as soon as they use a sword, as soon as they use violence, what do we call them? Anything but a Christian. Because a Christian is one who follows Christ. That's why we've got his name in the name. We follow Jesus Christ. And Jesus is our standard for everything we do and for everything we say. You will not find, and I will challenge Adnan, you will not find Jesus telling anybody to kill anybody. You will not find Jesus telling anybody to go and use the sword. Hold on a minute. He does say,
Sell your garments and buy the sword.
Are you going to do this or am I going to do this? Can I interrupt you now?
No, you're going to.
May I interrupt you? I have a louder voice than you.
Okay.
Be careful. In Matthew 10, verse 34, he said, I have not come to bring peace, I have come to bring the sword. Do you believe that he was asking Christians to use a sword?
No.
Look at the whole chapter. He says you are going to be hated. You are going to be persecuted. You are going to be jailed. You are going to be killed. Look at the whole chapter. He was saying the sword is going to be used against you. It is you that that the sword is going to be used. We are not permitted to use the sword. Jesus never used that sword. The sword Jesus used is the sword of the Spirit. It is the Bible, His holy word. That is the only sword we're permitted to use. You can't destroy a person with the Bible, but you can lead them to truth. And it is the truth that Jesus came to preach, that He came to model. It is the truth of love. He says, for I have come to bring peace. And blessed is the peacemaker, for he shall inherit the earth. Nowhere does Jesus say we can use the sword to hurt, to kill, to maim, to do anything that will go against that what Jesus came to do. This is a debate. We're not here to answer questions right now. Now, folks, because of that, you need to be careful. If you want peace today, and I know you all want peace,
yes,
you need to ask yourself, where is it you're going to find this peace? I don't want you to come back to the church to find peace. The church is not where it is my God. I do not worship the church. I do not follow this monk of the 9th century or any of these people of the 7th, 8th, and any others that he brings up. I follow Jesus Christ. And it is to Jesus that you have to go. And it is to the gospel of Jesus Christ, the New Testament, that you need to know what is it you're to do today. But on the same token, be careful.
1 minute.
I could have spent all day telling you about the atrocities of Islam, about what the Muslims have done right through the last 1400 years.
Do it then.
And there are many of them.
Do it.
But I'm not interested in those atrocities. Why? Because I'm interested in doing the same thing with Islam that I do with Christianity. I want to know who founded Islam. I want to know who models Islam, not what Muslims today say. And in order to do that, I've got to go back to the Quran. I've got to go back to see what Muslims, every Muslim must read. And I've got to go back to the man who models it for them, Muhammad. And it is when you look at Muhammad, not these other examples of Muslims, it's when you look at Muhammad that you find violence. Look and see what he did in Medina. We can go into that. It's when you look at the Quran that you will find 100, how many?
Time over.
Okay. You didn't give me 1 minute.
I told you. You told me.
You need to be louder. Say it louder so we can hear it.
Yeah,
I will stop there. I will give it to Adnan. Next time, make sure you
My voice, my hand. I was
put your hand up like this.
Yeah, I put my hand up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay made a very interesting claim that Christ never preached violence. Well, he knew he's going to fall in a pit if he makes that claim. Because Christ, as he stated himself, said in the Bible, in the book of Matthew, sell your garments and buy a sword. Now they want to put a spin to it. They know this directly contradicts the other teaching that if someone slaps your one cheek, turn the other one. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. Now this is clearly contradictory. So what they do, they put a spin to it. They say, okay, let's twist it. Somehow, let's twist the meaning of it. Why did Christ say, sell your garment and buy a sword? Why was Peter carrying the sword in the first place? When Peter chopped the ear off in a Roman soldier, he chopped the ear off a Roman soldier. Why was he carrying the sword in the first place? Was Jesus not there to tell him to abandon the sword? These Christians are extremely naive, and they make these hypocritical claims that Jesus Christ preached peace. So I ask you a question now, ladies and gentlemen. Study the history. Study the history of Christianity. It's full of blood. It's full of murders. It's full of slaughter, mass burning, and persecution of heretics. Persecution of heretics. I ask him a question. This lovely Christianity of peace, of tranquility, of love, the gospel of love, when was it practiced for the first time? I want him to answer this question. When did the Christians behave themselves first time in the history of mankind? When did they start to behave themselves? Give me a time, give me a man, give me a people that I can see the Christians did behave peacefully. But when I study the history, I see mass burning of witches. I see mass burning of heretics.
Not in Jesus' name.
I see Jesus. Who did he follow? Who were the Protestants following? Who were the Catholics following? Where did you come from? Where did you get your Trinity from? From the Church Fathers. When you ask them to justify Trinity, they go, oh, Church Father, Irenaeus, Origen, Saint Augustine, Saint this, Saint Jerome, Rufinus, Theodoret, Sozomenus, Eusebius. They take to the Church Fathers. But when we take them back to the violent teaching of Church Fathers, oh, we don't believe that. We don't believe that. Hypocrites, such hypocrites, don't even follow their own religion. I'll bring to your attention now. If Jesus is God, as they believe Jesus is God, is he God? He's saying he's God. Film it. He's saying he's God.
Don't interrupt.
So God, he's God forever. He has been God forever. He was the one who revealed the Old Testament to the Israelite prophets. Now this is what he revealed to them. This is what the God revealed to them. Now kill all the boys, male among the little ones. Now listen to me carefully. Male among the children, and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every little child, girl, every girl who hasn't seen a man, every virgin girl, save for yourself who has never slept with a man. Book of Numbers 31, verse 17 to 18. If Jesus is God, he's been God forever. Listen to my point, I'm making a point here. He's been God forever. If he was God forever, he is the one who revealed the Old Testament to the prophets, right or wrong? If he revealed the Old Testament, he was not a loving God at that time. He was a violent, vicious, and barbaric God. None of the times, in no age whatsoever, Muslims will believe that it's okay to kill children and women. But these people, these hypocrites, these extremists, they believe this, that it was okay. They believe it, that it was okay. They believe that it was okay to kill children and women at that time. We believe under no circumstances, it is okay to kill women and children. Now I'll take your attention to this.
That's 7 minutes.
You've got an old phone, mate.
Wait a minute, how much time?
Okay,
1 minute.
Listen to this now, what Jesus said. If you notice, this is God. Old Testament is from God. Jesus is God. The Old Testament is from him. Was he a barbaric God at that time? And he changed his mind for the Romans and for the Jews in 30 CE? Why did he change his mind? God doesn't change, right? God doesn't change. How comes he became a beautiful God? Now when the Crusaders were massacring children and women in Jerusalem, when the mass burning of witches was taking place in Europe, right here in Hyde Park, there were people being burned at stake in London by the Protestants, by the founder of their church, who they got their religion from. They got their religion from the Protestants and Catholics. When they were burning these people alive, they were going back to the Old Testament. They were saying, look, God revealed it in that time, what can we do in this time? We can do the same thing in this time. Now you tell me, why were Christians so barbaric for 2,000 years? Why did they change? They weren't. You don't know the history. You don't know the history, Mark. Go and study the history. Go and study the history. I will bring your attention to history. Time up? That's time. Well over.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Put your weight finger up. It's 1 minute to go. Okay, let's go. Now, folks, have you noticed my erstwhile friend here has not even tried to defend Islam and the fact that it's a violence from the very beginning? Have you noticed? He's not talked about Muhammad. He's staying clearly away from Muhammad. He's got a problem, and you'll see why. We haven't even told you what Muhammad did to those who criticized him. He will not go to Muhammad. He has spent all his time trying to attack mostly the Christian church again. Have you noticed? He still wants to attack the Christian church. We've already told you, we don't follow the Christian church. We follow one man, and his name is Jesus. Thank God that we do not have to apologize for Jesus like he has to apologize for Muhammad. I love to talk about Jesus.
Amen.
And when Jesus said, sell your cloak and buy a sword, where were they? Look at the context. They were sitting in a dining room. They were sitting at a table. What did Peter pick up from the table? 2 knives. 2 makais is the word that's used in Greek. What is a makai? You probably don't know. It's a knife about this long, about 12 inches. It is used for cutting meat. It is also used for cutting cloth. In fact, it's also used for cleaning your fingernails. It's used for everything. What was Jesus saying here? He is saying, I am leaving now. You're going to have to take care of yourself, sell your cloak, and buy a makai. Because a makai is used for everything. Because, see, the British had not yet invented forks and spoons. Thank God we are now civilized. We don't need those kind of makais. Now, they are not used for killing people. However, you know that with a knife that's 12 inches, certainly you can use harm. It can be used to kill someone, absolutely. But that is not its primary use. And the very next day, when Peter used it like that, what did Jesus say? When he took the makai and cut off the ear of the servant, he put the ear back on the servant, turned towards Peter, and said, put away your makai. Put away your sword. For he who lives by the sword, that way, dies by the sword, that way. Just see the context.
Amazing.
Now, folks, he says we don't know our own Bible. Who is he to tell us what our Bible says? It's fascinating, folks. Look and see. Did Jesus ever demand that they were to slay the unbeliever?
No.
Did Jesus ever say, make war upon the people of the book?
No.
But that's exactly what you will find in Surah 9, Ayah 5, and Surah 9, Ayah 29. Did Jesus ever say, cut off the head of the unbelievers?
No.
That's what you'll find in Surah 47, Ayah 4. Did Jesus ever say, take that makai and cut off the hands and feet of the robbers?
No.
But that's exactly what his Quran says. In Surah 5, Ayah 37. And I can go on and on and on. There's 149 of these verses in the Quran. All of them talking about violence. Jesus never allowed us to use violence. Now, folks, yes, there is violence in the Old Testament.
Now listen to this one.
Obviously, there's violence in the Old Testament. He says God never said that they were to kill men, women, and children. Folks, God himself killed men, women, and children in Sodom and Gomorrah, which the Quran does talk about. There were many times when God had his enemies decimated from the earth. But only in the Old Testament in 1400 BC do we see God doing this. And you have to ask, what was God doing in 1400 BC? Folks, what he was doing in 1400 BC, you leave in 1400 BC. We are not permitted to do that today. That has all been fulfilled in Jesus Christ.
It was okay then.
It was fine then, but it was not God that was changing. It was us that was changing. I'll explain that the next time. Thank you. Put your finger up, number one.
Time over?
Thank you. 1 minute. Folks, you need to go back and see. God did use violence in the Old Testament. God always participated in that violence. Remember, the one who destroyed the walls of Jericho were not the Israelites. It was God that destroyed the walls of Jericho. It is God that used the violence to bring about a nation, to eradicate the enemies, and also to condemn and fulfill that condemnation that he had promised hundreds of years in advance. All of that was fulfilled in Jesus Christ. We no longer are permitted to use violence. And the early church did not use violence. He asked me, when did this peace begin? It began with Jesus.
Amen.
Thank God for Jesus.
Amen.
The early church refused to use violence. Even the soldiers that were converted had to leave the army. I'll leave it there. We'll pick it up when we begin.
Time's up.
Can you see that, ladies and gentlemen, such hypocrisy, trying to get away with the argument, from the argument. When he uses the word for divinity in Old Testament, he uses the word God. He doesn't use the word Jesus for the Old Testament. But when he comes to the New Testament, he says, Jesus says so, Jesus says so. But when he goes to the Old Testament, he says, God says so. So he himself is in doubt whether Jesus was doing something in the Old Testament. I am saying if Jesus is God, he was God forever, right or wrong. He was God forever. The Christians believe it today. If he was God forever, then he was a barbaric and vicious God who is telling the Israelites to slay the woman, slay the infants who are suckling, slay them without pity and mercy. Book of Ezekiel, chapter 9, verse 5, Jesus, who is God, allegedly tells Israelites to go into Jerusalem and slay women, men, children, infants without pity and mercy. Do not have mercy. This is Jesus the God. If he's God, why don't you come to it?
Did he not tell Noah to do
I know it hurts you. I know it burns you. He said, I don't go to Muhammad. Let's see the violence of Islam now. Let's see whether he's right or wrong. I've already given you Christian testimonies. Christians believe otherwise. The Christians who are living with Muslims, they said we are more happier than one can imagine. We are allowed to build our churches and we are allowed to do our business freely. Now we will see why was that so. Why was that so? What precedent was set by Prophet Muhammad, his book Quran, for the coming generations? In the Quran, chapter 4, verse number 135, it states, "Oh, you believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even though it be against yourself. Stand out firm for justice, even though it be against for yourself, or your parents, or your kin, be he rich or poor. Allah is better protector to both. So follow not lusts, lest you avoid justice." In the book of Bukhari, Prophet Muhammad is reported to have said, "Anyone who kills a non-Muslim protected by the Islamic State will not smell the fragrance of paradise, even though it can be smelled from the distance of 40 years' journey." Again, in the book of Bukhari, it is narrated, the second caliph, Umar bin Khattab, radiallahu anhu, he said on his deathbed, that whoever shall succeed me must fulfill the promises of Allah and His Messenger. Whatever treaty has been made with non-Muslims must be respected by my successor. He shall fight if he has to protect them. He shall fight if he has to protect them. The Muslim governor or the ruler shall fight to protect the non-Muslims who are living in Islamic land. This is what Islam says, my ladies and gentlemen. We will see what the Christians say. I will come to history as well. Time limitations, we will see that in a minute. He shall fight to protect them, and he shall not put a burden upon them which they cannot bear. Now, why were Muslims behaving in such manner, ladies and gentlemen? What was the precedent set by them? Now we will see in the Treaty of Medina. In the Treaty of Medina, we will see what precedent was set by the Muslims, how to deal with non-Muslims, a civilization is judged by the way it treats the other people. A civilization is judged by the way it treats the other people. We will judge civilizations how they treated other people. Do you have anything called Christian civilization? If you do, bring it forward. And if it was there, how did they treat the non-Christian subjects? You will not bring one example from the whole of Christian history. Whole of Christian history, I challenge him. He doesn't go to that. He goes, it started with Christ and it finished with Christ. I am telling you, it finished with Christ because who came to power? Catholics. Catholics governed Europe from 500 to 1500 CE for 1,000 years. Dark ages, torture of Jews, murder of Muslims, mass burning of heretics, mass burning of witches. Okay. For 1500, the Protestants come to power. Reformation, Lutheran and his party. Martin Luther and his party. What happened then? Still mass burnings are taking place. Still people are being burned at stake. Where is the mercy of Gospels? That's the question. When was it practiced for the first time in the history of mankind? Where is it? The question is, where is it? Whenever the Christians fought, they went to Old Testament. They said, Old Testament tells us, kill the woman, kill the children, anything that moves, kill it.
10 seconds.
That's why Crusaders went to Jerusalem. They slaughtered everything that moved. I've given you examples from Islam. In my next turn, because the time is gone, I will come to the treaties of Muslims and non-Muslims. How Prophet Muhammad treated the non-Muslims. There you go.
I'm going.
There's been enough.
Find someone else.
Okay, can someone else do the timing?
Can someone else do the timing?